Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack making backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby May. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
I'm wondering what you said to him and how he's doing.
Well, I told Malik, put all his trust in God, that God's going to see him through this. I told him that I love him, basically, and to be strong.
We heard Walter Madison, the attorney for your son, say that he heard you whisper, "I love you," and he doesn't believe Malik had heard that from you before. Is that the case? Is today the first day you told him that?
Basically, because I haven't been around in Malik's life like I should have been at those early years. And I want to stress that parents need to get involved more in their kids' lives. And like someone mentioned, be a parent and not a friend. And teach your kids what alcohol and drugs can do to destroy their lives. And teach your kids how to make decisions and to combat peer pressure.
A cowardly ambush. That is how the Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court is describing the shooting of a fellow judge in Steubenville. Judge Joseph Brzee Jr. was shot near the courthouse yesterday. Police say the gunman, a convicted felon, Nathaniel Richmond, was killed when the judge and a probation officer returned fire. Richmond, the father of Malik Richmond, a former high school football player who was convicted of raping a 16-year-old girl at a party.
4 adults are now indicted in connection with a rape case in Steubenville, Ohio, that sent 2 high school football players to jail.
All are high-ranking school officials, including the school district superintendent. This case gained national attention after texts and pictures of the attack turned up on social media. As Allison Harmelin reports, this latest investigation looked at whether the school covered up the crime.
I'm sorry to put you guys through this.
8 months after 2 Steubenville, Ohio high school football players were convicted of raping a 16-year-old girl, a grand jury has indicted 4 adults in the case. School Superintendent Michael McVeigh faces felony charges including tampering with evidence and obstructing justice. 2 coaches and a principal face lesser charges.
Everyone has an obligation to help find the truth, not hide the truth.
Malik Richmond and his teammate Trent Mays, both now 17, were sentenced to at least a year in juvenile jail for the crime. The case gained national attention after photos, videos, and texts of the incident appeared on social media. The grand jury investigated whether the school participated in a cover-up to protect the football team. In an interview with CBS correspondent Dean Reynolds earlier this year, McVeigh said he did what he was supposed to do.
Protocol was followed, sir.
Well, what is the protocol? Did you and the principal defer to the football coach?
We followed our discipline protocol as we usually do.
Last month, the grand jury also indicted the school's information technology director.
How do you hold kids accountable if you don't hold the adults accountable?
Those indicted are due in court next month. Allison Harmelin for CBS News.
An elementary school principal and a strength coach are also charged with failing to report possible child abuse. A former volunteer coach faces several misdemeanor charges, including making false statements.
Good morning. The courthouse remains closed today because of yesterday's shooting. Now, officials say the suspect was waiting for the judge, who had just parked his car in a reserved spot and was walking down this side street when the gunman opened fire.
And this was just cold-blooded attempted murder on a judge.
Jefferson County Sheriff Fred Abdullah says he has no doubt the shooting of Judge Joseph Brzee was an ambush.
It's frustrating when I see this man get right up on a judge, and after he shoots him, he shoves the judge on the ground. That's very frustrating.
We need an ambulance down here. We've got a man down.
Prosecutors say Nathaniel Richmond and the judge, who was armed, fired their weapons about 5 times each. A probation officer near the judge also shot Richmond. Richmond's son Malik was convicted in a high-profile rape case in 2013.
He felt he hadn't done anything wrong.
Malik Richmond and another Steubenville High School football player were accused of sexually assaulting an unconscious 16-year-old girl at a party in 2012. Judge Braziz oversaw the grand jury in the case, but stepped aside because he said he thought it was necessary to appoint a judge from outside of Steubenville. Prosecutor Jane Hanlon says they are still looking for a motive in the shooting.
There's absolutely no reason to believe that there's any connection whatsoever between Malik Richmond and the actions of his father today.
Court records show Judge Braziz was also overseeing a wrongful death suit filed by the alleged gunman against the Jefferson County Metropolitan Housing Authority. The suit was on behalf of his mother's estate after she died in a fire in April. A hearing was scheduled for August 28th.
It's too early for us to tell whether there is any connection between that lawsuit and the incident that happened this morning.
Now, Judge Braziz did undergo emergency surgery. He is expected to survive. Police say there was another man in the car with Richmond when he arrived here. That man is now being questioned by police.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for First News at 11. I'm Molly Reed. After a federal court allowed YSU defensive lineman Malik Richmond to play this afternoon, he entered the game in the third quarter. Richmond, who was found guilty of rape as a juvenile, sued Youngstown State earlier this week. School officials had said he couldn't play this season following protests that broke out when people caught wind Richmond was on the team. 27 First News reporter Cameron O'Brien found out public opinion on the matter is still very strong. She's our top story tonight.
Despite the controversies surrounding Malik Richmond, no one here today at Stambaugh Stadium was willing to talk to me about him. I spent about an hour and a half in the tailgate lot today, and when I walked up to people, they would walk away from me preemptively, saying that they had no interest in talking about Malik Richmond. When I did ask people about Malik, they would say that they had no comment, or they would just get up and walk away from me. But the truth is that they did have a comment, just not on camera. When I talked to people off camera, many of them said that they didn't want Richmond to play. Others said that they thought he should. Many people told me that they could see it from both sides, but they weren't going to comment on it publicly. And that's because they say that this case detracts from the glory of the Penguins YSU football team. They say that the energy that was created from last year's winning streak needs to be maintained, and bringing Malik's controversy into that is going to completely detract from it. So the bottom line is that people do have feelings here at Stambaugh Stadium about Malik Richmond and his ability to play for the Penguins football team, but they're not going to say it in public. And they're not going to tell me about it either. At Stambaugh Stadium, Cameron O'Brien, WKBN 27 First News.
Well, it was a big win at home for the Penguins today. They crushed Central Connecticut State 59-9. During a post-game press conference, Coach Bellini remained vague about his feelings on Richmond. Instead, he spoke about the team as a whole.
Yeah, I think everybody that was eligible to play played. So, that's a good thing. Because kids, they put a lot of work in. It's good to see everybody get rewarded like that.
The Penguins have a bye week next week. Then they'll suit up to play conference teams.
Now, in every report I read, it said that the shooting had nothing to do with the conviction against his son. Now, not the main reason I could understand, but nothing to do with it. I find that really, really hard to believe. What up, though? It's Shay's Popalot. We in Steubenville, Ohio. This one gonna pull at the heartstrings a little bit. Now, growing up as a black man and as a man in general, you just have a certain obligation to take care of what's yours. But depending on the situation, and with black men specifically, the world could almost stack up what looks like an impossible obstacle course, especially when you're fighting demons and vices like the streets, drugs, alcohol, women, and the countless other things that they have out here to take you off your pivot. And a lot of time we come across these instances where the load in the back is so much that the truck break down. And based on my opinion, by all accounts, that looks like exactly what happened to the person that we're covering today, a man by the name of Nathaniel Richmond, who, if you asked me, pretty much had all he could take with the world following his son Malik Richmond's very public and controversial sexual assault conviction back in 2013, while dealing with what he believed was the wrongful death of his mother in a fire. And when you sprinkle on the fact of he himself saying that he was not there enough in his child's life while watching what he would have to perceive as his son's NFL dreams being crushed. And just saying that shit is a lot. So I can't even imagine going through it. It would be way too easy for me to say that the problems would start with the prosecution of his son for the sexual assault that would occur at a high school party in 2012. But long before that, when his son Malik had to be about 2 or 3 years old in 2002, Nathaniel Richmond would be convicted for assault and attempted murder in 2002 for a drive-by that he had participated in. Now, I'm not exactly quite sure how much time he was served for that offense, but he was sentenced to 5 years, and he would go on to admit himself that he was not there enough for his son Malik. And his son's sexual assault trial was pretty much broadcasted across the nation, with CNN being one of the main media outlets that was covering the trial, where they would get large-scale criticism for the coverage of that case. On March 17th, 2023, while the case was waiting a verdict, CNN anchor Poppy Harlow would state that it was incredibly difficult, even for her as an outsider, to watch what happened to the two young men that had such promising futures, saying that they were star football players, very good students, saying that they had to literally watch as their lives fell apart. Candy Crowley, another CNN anchor, would face a ton of backlash due to her sympathy for the defendants and lack of compassion for the victim. Though sentenced to 5 years, Malik would only serve 1 and be released from detention in January 5th, 2014, where he would go on to try to pick up the pieces to his football career. He was able to re-enroll back in high school, and he had a fairly decent senior year. He would play the positions of wide receiver, tight end, and linebacker, and he would be selected to first team All-Ohio, where in the 9 games that he would play in, he would rack up 92 tackles as well as 8 sacks, also catching 38 passes for 750 yards and 6 touchdowns. After high school, he would briefly attend California PA and Potomac State College of Western Virginia University before eventually landing at Youngstown State in 2017. When he would first arrive on the campus of Youngstown State, he would face a lot of backlash as students would rack up more than 10,000 signatures, essentially petitioning the university to kick him off the football team. And I'm not sure if it was that situation after dealing with the long legal situation years prior, or just dealing with the death of his mom, who sounded like she died in a fire. And it was his belief that someone was responsible for the death of his mother, so much so that he would file a wrongful death suit. And I'm not quite sure of the scenario or the mind state of Nathaniel Richardson on that Sunday night before August 22nd, 2017. But it was said that he had been drinking with a friend all night, and he had let the friend know that he had to go to court in the morning. Now, this probably just being me, but this should have been the first red flag for that friend, because anybody that's gonna sit up all night drinking and have to go to court in the morning obviously probably don't care what the outcome of court is gonna be. And whether he was truly unaware or not, it would be that friend that would drive Nathaniel Richmond to the courts as they was opening up on that Monday morning. And it wasn't said if he had a specific target, but he would immediately open fire up on Judge Joseph J. Brazee Jr. as he was making his way into the courtroom. Based on all media reports, Nathaniel Richmond wouldn't even get a chance to let off more than 3 shots before Judge Brazee and a probation/correctional officer would return fire from weapons they had concealed, killing Nathaniel Richmond in the process. And after the media frenzy of something like a judge being shot occurs, all kind of scenarios start to come out. Was it because his son was railroaded in his football career? Was it this ongoing wrongful death suit that he was dealing with his mother? Me, I look at it totally different. I almost look at it like the realizations of your life come at you at one time. And it's just not your life you're contemplating. It's those that you affected, your kids, your family. And I believe it was at that point that Nathaniel Richmond said, fuck it. It literally broke my heart to go over and research this story. And the only thing I really want to say to the guys out there is make sure you hold yours down, because sometimes you come back to the huddle and the play is over with. And it's kind of crazy because I doubt I would have done or handled the situation like Nathaniel Richmond did, but I'm finding it hard to say that he's wrong. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all make sure y'all hit the red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real trill spill shit is dropping. Y'all get in the comment box below, flooded. Let me know what cities I need to go to, what stories I need to tell, what I got wrong, what I missed, all of that. Y'all tap in with your boy directly. Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. To all the parents out there, y'all make sure y'all know y'all got eyes watching y'all. And until the next time, y'all know the verdict. Salute the almighty mob.